The Three Rivers Challenge is over. I'm a little sad about it. There's so many things I'm going to take from it and keep going. And I want to share that with you. So 2 things today. Number 1, the top 10 takeaways. And number 2, how much we spend over the course of the challenge. So let's start with the top 10 takeaways. Buying meat in advance from local farmers makes a huge difference. This is just one of our freezers where we house a lot of our meat that we've purchased. I shut the freezer because we're in our garage and I just can't leave that open while I'm talking. But the purpose of this is that we never had to worry about meat or protein, right? Animal-based protein. So last year in 2020, we purchased a quarter cow from a local farm that does regenerative farming, grass-fed beef, all the right ways you're supposed to do it. And that's what you need to do. Go find those people in your area. And we purchased a quarter cow at $6 a pound. Think about that. Tell me where you can go get that quality of meat for that price. I know I can't in our grocery stores. It's not even possible. We also had purchased a pig from a local farm, I think at around $5 a pound. We purchased salmon from a local fisherwoman that lives half the year here, half the year in Alaska. And my husband hunts for deer and turkey, so we had some of that. And we buy pasture-raised poultry, chickens, from a very local farm as well. So think about storing your meat, buying it in bulk, storing it in your freezer, and having it all year long. It makes a difference. We haven't had to purchase any meat in almost 12 months. Think about that. Number 2, do not underestimate the value of fermented foods. I often would put some of our fermented sauerkraut or curtido or pickles or fermented carrots with our meals, and it made a huge difference because when you don't have a lot of fresh produce in the house, the fermented foods add that need, right? That crunch, the flavor, the probiotics, all of the good stuff. We have a ton of fermented sauerkraut, curtido, and pickles still, and I'm using them every day. So don't underestimate the power of fermented foods and how it can transform your meal. Number 3, don't underestimate the value of homemade bone broth. We have been making our own bone broth, both beef and chicken, for years now. It is the easiest thing to do. And if you haven't done it before, click above where you can learn how to do this in the Instant Pot. And it really is so easy, and it costs pennies. And think about all of the uses you can use. You can call it bone broth, stock broth, whatever you want to call it. It has a lot of uses and can, again, transform any meal from mediocre to delicious. Number 4, stock your pantry with dried grains and legumes and beans. They can transform any meal as well, and they are a great source of fiber and plant-based protein for pennies. It doesn't cost a lot, and storing them is really easy because they're shelf stable as well. I can't even tell you how many times I would reach for our beans, our rice, or our grains. It makes a difference. Number 5, the Instant Pot. Oh my goodness. As I was going back and editing the videos and putting them together, there were days I used my Instant Pot 2 to 3 times a day. This thing is a workhorse. I can't imagine a kitchen without it. From cooking beans and legumes so quickly to soups and stews and even some meats, pot roast, it makes cooking a breeze, and it saved not only my time, but at many times my sanity. So I was actually very surprised at how many times I used my Instant Pot throughout this challenge, and I'm just so grateful I have it. Number 6, buying in bulk for those pantry staples makes a huge difference. As you know, we purchase a lot of our groceries from Azure Standard. They are a bulk buying program that costs no money to join, no minimum order, no contract, no subscription, no membership, none of that. It's just bulk buying, easy for you. And we purchase a lot of our herbs, grains, beans, legumes, our butter that's in the freezer, so many things to keep a pantry stocked so that you can make whatever you need to make and not have to go to the store. Bulk buying saved me so much. Even the cheeses, because I would buy these 5 or 6 pound blocks of cheeses, cut them up and vacuum seal the individual portions. It just made everything so easy to know that I did not spend a lot of money on that food comparatively, right? Comparatively into the grocery store per pound or per ounce. I didn't spend a lot, and I was able to have everything on hand that we needed. Number 7, bread baking. You gotta do it. Having our own sourdough starter and not having to rely on instant yeast or dry yeast made all of the difference. We have not purchased bread or any bread product for that matter in well over a year. And I made my own starter. You can too. It is so easy. And I use this weekly to make our own sandwich bread. But I was also able to make waffles, pancakes with the discard. I made those cupcakes that one time. There's so many options. Bagels, pretzels. If you have a sourdough starter and you really learn to experiment and use it, you will amaze yourself at how much money you save without buying all of those fancy bread products. Number 8, don't put all of your eggs in one basket, literally and figuratively. This was one of my fails. We always have a good supply of farm fresh eggs in our refrigerator because we get them from a local farm. When I went grocery shopping that one time 2 weeks ago, let me just tell you, that's the first time I purchased store-bought eggs in almost a year. And it really pained me to do so because I like supporting local farmers that are doing the right thing. And my farmer just didn't have any eggs when we really needed them. And so that was why I bought them at the store. But last summer, I had purchased some farm fresh eggs and I water glassed them. And I also froze some eggs. So I knew that eggs were going to be one of the first things to go in this challenge. So I knew we had some fresh ones in the refrigerator, both the garage fridge and this fridge. I also had frozen some eggs. So I crack them open. I put them in a silicone liner, like a silicone cupcake liner, and then just scrambled them a bit and then froze them. And I still have one left in our freezer, but they were perfect for baking. So I didn't have to use our fresh eggs for baking. And then the third thing I did was the water glass, right? So fresh, frozen, water glass. I tried not to put all my eggs in one basket per se, but my water glassed eggs, I had over 2 dozen of them and the jars cracked, and it was totally my fault. It was your error. I kept them in our refrigerator in the garage. I just didn't want to take any chances with losing them. But the whole purpose of water glassing is that they don't have to be refrigerated. Many people reminded me of that. Thank you. It was a mistake. And the jars just got way too cold in our refrigerator. I don't know what happened, but they froze and cracked, and oh, it was a mess. Not as big a mess as it could have been, but it was more so just so sad for the eggs and the jars. So I will water glass again, but I will take better precautions next time. Number 9, eating out is fun, but it really makes me feel poopy the next day, or even sometimes the next 2 days. As you know, we went out to eat twice for 2 birthday celebrations, my sister-in-law and mine, and it was fun. We had such a great time. But I've noticed that when I am eating at home and we're eating homemade good food and I go out to eat, I just don't feel that great the next day. And really sometimes it takes 2 days. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. If you eat out a lot, you may not be aware of it because your body's more conditioned, or you think that's your normal. But I encourage you and implore you to eat more at home, make your own food, eat healthier, and you'll start to see a difference in a good way. So eating out is fun, but I really do enjoy eating at home. And number 10, I feel liberated, not limited, by going through this challenge. I talked about this, I think, a week ago or so. You would think that by boxing yourself into only what you have in the house would be, well, for some people it might be very anxious. it might feel limiting. It did not feel that way for me. I felt so liberated to just be more creative and come up with something that we had to use here, right? I loved it so much that while I'm not sticking to the exact challenge going forward right now, I am still going to eliminate as many trips as possible to the store unless it's absolutely necessary. One more bonus takeaway. Preserving our own food was truly the catalyst to our success, whether it be through freezing, dehydrating, fermenting, root cellaring, or canning. All of those methods are great ways to preserve your food, and it really made a difference. Being able to go into our other pantry and grab a jar of soup when I just didn't have the energy to cook, saves the day. That's when like the light comes shining down, right? Like those are the moments where it counts. I don't do all of this, as I had mentioned, for doomsday prepping. That's not who I am. I do this for our family's health and my own sanity. It really helps. So having the carrots and the onions and the garlic and the potatoes being root cellared, right, in our garage, that was amazing, being able to go out there and do that and get what we needed. Or dehydrated fruit. We had apple chips and peaches and pineapples and banana chips. Having those dehydrated fruits really helped when we were missing that fresh fruit. And all of these preservation methods have their place in a well-stocked kitchen. And as promised, I want to share what we spent at the grocery store over the entire month of January and February throughout this challenge. So you know that I went grocery shopping that one day and it was $147.46. My husband also went shopping before the Super Bowl and I was okay with it. I didn't know what he was gonna spend. I was quite relieved because I thought it was gonna be a lot more. But the grand total, so he spent $167.11. The grand total for the 7 weeks that we completed the challenge was $314.57. That comes to just under $45 a week for groceries during the entire challenge. Now, if I take out January, because my goal was to not spend any money in January, that's $90 a week for the month of February. And my goal was to only spend $25 a week. So I'm gonna have to keep this in mind for next year because the birthdays don't change. They'll be during the challenge next year too. So I have to kind of take into account on how we're gonna handle that. But overall, I'm still pleased. I learned so much and it was a really fun experience. Throughout this process, my creativity went up and my stress level went down. I am so glad that I went through this journey, and I'm even more grateful that I was able to share it with you, and for all of the wonderful support and comments and encouragement that I received from yourself and everyone else. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Again, I learned so much and I am so energized to keep going and doing what we can with using what we have rather than just taking the easy way out to go buy something. So I am starting to really think about what my goals are for 2022 within the preservation realm of our pantry. And I'm going to start documenting that as well. I'm making the goals and then I'm going to work towards achieving them this year so that when we go into the challenge in 2023, we're even more stocked and more prepared. I would love to hear your experience. So many people commented that they were doing the challenge too and what was working for them, what was not working. Please continue to let me know because I'm learning from everybody else as well. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Once again, it was a pleasure and a privilege to share it with you. And don't worry, this is not the end. There are so many more videos and so many more things coming of what we plan to get done in 2022. Stay healthy, stay well. See you next time.